Did you see it? I saw it, all of it, and it was brutal. What do you think I'm talking about? Yep, that's right. I'm talking about Deontay Wilder's return to the ring. I'm a bit loath to call it a comeback, because in my opinion, when you've been out of the ring for just over a year, you can't really say it's a comeback. It's more of an extended break. And more to the point, in the LVD Sport heavyweight rankings, Deontay Wilder hadn't even been removed as of yet. He's still clinging in there, or he was clinging in to around number 17, 18. So you can't really say it's been can't really call it a comeback as such. But regardless, Tyrell Herndon played the role. And what a role he played, my word. I think you could count the amount of punches he threw in actual anger with the intent of doing damage in one hand. He played his part well. Wilder, for his part, didn't. My goodness, it was almost as if he wanted credit just for turning up and pouring with the jab. The fact that this man has got so much to learn, and he appears as if he wants the paying fan, both those attending in attendance and those watching on pay-per-view, he expects the paying customer to tolerate his working out the basics. Incredible. And if you're asking me, Tyrell Herndon was almost on a bonus for not throwing punches. It was absolutely bizarre. The finish itself, referee Ray Corona, I thought was going to do the right thing and navigate Herndon through to the finish line so we could say he did the 10 rounds. But for his part, Herndon was doing everything other than performing a fight and providing the paying customer what they've actually forked out to see. And eventually, I think Ray Corona, the referee, got a bit impatient and waved the fight off due to the fact that Herndon just wasn't willing to live up to his end of the bargain. But the only thing that matters is that Wilder got the win at the end. Excuse me. But what a pile of trash. That was supposed to be a statement victory. That was supposed to be putting him back in the shop window, potentially putting him in for a shout with a fight with Anthony Joshua, because Joshua is quite plainly holding out for his next fight is going to be a fight which is winnable for him. That's quite clear. And even Wilder didn't even do that well. It was a statement-making victory in a sense, except it was the wrong statement to make. Absolutely incredible performance. And something else I was thinking just before I was doing the video was that when he came off losses previously, Robert Helenius was the opponent, the chosen crash mat, if you will. And people complained then, back in 2022. Like, my word, he's fighting Robert Helenius. That's a guaranteed win. And then 2.5 years later, when he comes back after 2 losses, it's Tyrell Herndon. The amount of effort put in to find that man was probably greater than the effort that Deontay Wilder put in to score the victory. Incredible. But if nothing else, it has served a purpose, and that purpose is, to me anyway, as I've seen on a few YouTube comments here and there since the fight took place, and that is that Deontay Wilder versus Jake Paul is an absolute viable commodity in my eyes. It's a trash fight involving trash fighters. One was never put in a position that he was never really supposed to be in, but took the opportunity and maximised it. Jake Paul, similar, but except he spotted an opportunity for himself and has been allowed to navigate himself within that and almost churn out a small cottage industry within that little niche. Smartly done, but when you've got the money and the what's the word I'm looking for? The cachet to do it, then you're going to be allowed to be given extra leeway that others don't have. But because it's a trash fight involving trash fighters, and it is disposable shit, which is what Jake Paul is, that is the reason why it will not happen. As we can see, Jake Paul now he's hung around long enough and got himself ingratiated with the boxing establishment enough to the point now it actually seems to the casual fan that Jake Paul and actual professional boxing are almost hand in hand. He has taken a shortcut through all the way to the top, essentially, if he wins tonight against Chavez Jr. Which brings me on to my next topic I was going to talk about in today's video, and that is, of course, Jake Paul versus Chavez Jr. As opposed to the Mike Tyson debacle, I've got to admit, I am quite intrigued in this contest. Not because of the action, the ways and means, and the way the fight is going to flow and pan out, but in terms of the business decision. Has Jake Paul got this one right? I think he has, and the fact that he's a prohibitive, I think he's 6-1 on favourite, or maybe even the odds are even longer than that at the moment to win. Obviously, the odds makers think that this is a foregone conclusion. And with Chavez Jr., you've got in his track record, you have to think that that is the case. But is there going to be a chance that Jake Paul has got his sums wrong? What about if for one time he's actually up against a professional boxer with a bit of intent, who knows what he's doing, he's got a bit of youth on his side, and if he puts his punches together for 2 to 3 rounds, Jake Paul could possibly be in big trouble. That is the fanciful way of looking at things. What will probably happen is that Chavez Jr. will do what he's always done, and that is seriously overachieve, brilliantly underperform, and do just enough so that the other opponent get his hand raised. There's the few things that get me thinking about why this is in Jake Paul's favour, of course, is the weight. Chavez Jr. is going to be at cruiser. Chavez Jr.'s previous fight was at cruiserweight. He's never been above that before. Previous to, I think, light heavy, or just over light heavy, was his previous high to this. The victory over Uriah Hall was the cruiserweight bout I'm talking of for Chavez Jr. Anybody, if you saw that fight, that was the performance which put Chavez Jr. into the shop window, and made Jake Paul think this is the guy next. He's on the short list. The performance has to be poor enough, and the name has to be big enough to make Jake Paul want to take the chance, which is what happened there. The fight against Uriah Hall, if you look at the scorecards for that fight, will say that Chavez Jr. won quite comprehensively, or easily, as we say. But if you go back and watch that contest, I scored it live on the night. I couldn't split the two. I scored it 3 rounds apiece, Uriah Hall and Chavez Jr., and that's a former world champion against a non-boxing MMA fighter. And he barely could get him off, keep him off, as it were. And now here we are against Jake Paul. Some of his other performances, he lost that technical decision to a Mexican fighter. That fight was during when Chavez Jr. had his 2-fight deal with Matchroom. If you can remember when he fought Daniel Jacobs, in 2018. That was a 2-fight deal that Chavez Jr. had with Matchroom. The only thing that Chavez Jr. had going for him at that particular time was his name value. He got a big purse and then quit against Jacobs. When we had that beautiful sight of Eddie Hearn having to put the ring card that the ring card girls have as they walk around the ring telling you which round it is. Eddie Hearn had to put that over his head to stop the bottles and cups of urine flying towards him. That was a magical moment I'll never forget. Then, rather than having the second fight of that deal, Eddie Hearn farmed that out and let Chavez Jr. fight that second fight. I think it was on a Zamfa promotion show. Subcontracted that second date out, and of course Chavez Jr. decided to go out and underperform and lost. Technical decision. That was essentially the nail in the coffin for Chavez Jr. That was the event where even sponsors and whatever sponsors there was left, and even his dad, who had written him off previously before that, had decided that this was the time that no more. And no more, you got to get your head right, and until you sort yourself out absolutely 100%, I don't want anything to do with you. And now the upshot of that is he seems to have cleaned himself up, got the weight right, looks good, and so now he's payment for that, for getting himself in the right place mentally and physically, is a date with Jake Paul. So now it's up to Chavez Jr. to not blow this up. We shall see. But as for the fight itself, as we say, Jake Paul is a prohibitive favourite, and you've got to think that even if Jake Paul, say, round 3, and it's not gone the way that he thought it would do, and Chavez Jr. is still there, maybe pumping at a steady jab, and there's looks at ringside that this isn't going the way we thought it would. Will is the referee, whoever that is going to be. I can't remember who it is. Will the referee do the right thing? Will he be on Jake Jake Paul's case? Will he be on Chavez Jr.'s case? Stop hitting him. Don't hold. All the extra stuff that the referees do when they want to navigate a certain fighter to a certain way to get a certain result. Will this kick in? All very interesting. Chavez Jr. versus Jake Paul. Fascinating fight, but the thing that interests me is that the angle that not many people have taken is that this is a kind of a mirror image deal against each other, but with a slight twist in that you have that Jake Paul has seen the path that he wants to take in regards to boxing, and has decided that there will be a list of fighters that he will not entertain. Allegedly, mixed martial artists Yoel Romero and Gegard Mousasi were on this list of fighters that Jake Paul would not entertain under boxing rules. They're a bit too risky, which is why in those first few you saw Ben Askren and Tyron Woodley, guys who aren't really known for their boxing prowess, as his early entrance into the boxing world. Well, Chavez Jr., if you remember when he turned professional way back in, he's been pro for over, I think he's been a pro for over 20 years. When his first year as a pro, he was fighting every month. Of course, he was the son of the legend. All that mattered with Chavez Jr.'s early years was the surname. It didn't matter about the opponent, and that he had to keep winning. Chavez Jr. in the sense of he didn't know what he had, what he'd been given, what he'd been born with, essentially. He threw away chance after chance until it was too late. Whereas Jake Paul has crafted chance after chance that he's been given and has made the most of it. Chavez Jr. was born into a sport which he threw away, essentially, those chances. Whereas Jake Paul was given the keys to the kingdom of the sport and has walked straight in and has, again, crafted himself a wonderful little cottage industry out of it. So, in a way, Chavez Jr. is up against someone who's doing what he should have done, but just didn't do. And now he's having to go over to Jake Paul, shake his hand, kiss the ring, as they say, simply because to get a chance that should have been his a long time ago. The only fight of any fights of any consequence that matters on the Chavez Jr. record are Sergio Martinez, which he took a pasting for 11 straight rounds and turned it around in the final frame, and then just stopped short of victory. And then his victory over Andy Lee, which I believe was a 7th round stoppage. His best years came when he was fighting under Freddie Roach, circa 2011-2012, which I believe was when a certain Alex Ariza was also in the gym. Bit strange that that good fortune mixes up with those faces at the same time, and that when Alex Ariza leaves Freddie Roach's wildcard gym, shortly after, that's when things go awry for Chavez Jr., and he never gets back to the same level as what he was. Prediction then, I'm going to say you've got to go for Jake Paul by any means necessary. But however, if Chavez Jr., if the desire is there, if Chavez Jr. is going to have one last attempt, Chavez Jr. is going to say, you know what, I've been a pro boxer for over 20 years. I know what I'm doing. I'm better than what this other fool is. If he does what he's supposed to do, Mexicano, if he does all that, we could be in for a surprise. But regardless, the sun will rise tomorrow, and I'm pretty sure that if he wins, loses or draws, Jake Paul will look for some sort of credit from it, and he will get it as well. But hope you enjoy the fights. I hope we do see at some point Deontay Wilder and Jake Paul. Should be it's a fascinating mess that we need to see. It's exactly the type of fight which doesn't matter, which is why I want to see it. It's not interfering with the actual pros and cons and the actual industry of boxing. It's away from boxing. It's perfect, involving guys who were in, one guy who was in and isn't anymore, and one guy who wishes he was and never will be. Ideal, but of course it won't happen. Just got to give a word. Junior Dorticos versus Gilberto Ramirez. WBA, WBO light heavyweight titles are on the line. The KO Dr. Dorticos finally getting his WBA light heavyweight or cruiserweight shot, after seemingly waiting for a lifetime. I hope he pulls off the victory. I think he's on 300k tonight, as opposed to Ramirez, who's allegedly on 1.5 million. So I think we can see what's reading between the lines there. This is Jake Paul, hopefully investing in Ramirez. I say Jake Paul investing in Ramirez. It's the Zone paying for tonight's event. Something else. If you notice that MVP promotions get a lot of credit for doing a lot of things that they didn't actually do. They very rarely shell out themselves. And if you notice, the only fighters they seem to be able to sign to promotional deals are women fighters who traditionally are cheaper. So please keep an eye on the moves and what they're making. They're looking for credit where the credit is not due and where there is none. And they're trying to portray themselves as something that they are not. Anyway, that's enough chat from me. Just started where I was going to start and finish off where I was going to finish. Straight off top of the dome, as always. Thank you for listening. I do talk a bit fast, but there you go. It's good to be back, and if you've made it this far, it is a real pleasure. Thank you very much, and please like, comment, subscribe, and we'll be back again soon. Thank you very much. This is LVD Sport, out for the count. Until next time, keep your gloves up and keep your chin down. Thank you.